Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. A number of people have notified me that recently SciManDan, who has a popular YouTube channel, he took on my video from over a year ago and said it was nonsense. And to be fair, if somebody was brand new and had never encountered my work and watched his video, they might be persuaded by what he's saying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play his entire video, and then we'll just go through and address it point by point. And I have already watched his video, and I was a little bit disappointed with his ending. He did what every Gematria troll does. He just started writing his own sentences to try to debunk Gematria. And again, it's that, what do they call it? The Dunning-Kruger effect. Again, what he accuses flat earthers of being idiots, not understanding the subject and making fools of themselves, is exactly what he does at the end of this video. So anyhow, we'll watch SciManDan's video. We'll pause it as we go through. We'll address the points he makes. And hopefully we'll get an actual debate. I would love to have a debate with this guy. And something, well, I'll save it for later, what I was going to say. Just understand, a lot of these people on YouTube who have big channel numbers, I'm not really sure they have the subscribers we think they do. You just look at like their Patreon page, for example. SciManDan has over 400,000 subscribers. He's got 200 people on his Patreon. Yours truly has been deleted 20-some times, so my YouTube channel's never gotten that big. But I have over 6,000 people on my Patreon page. Again, I think YouTube makes me look very small and then inflates channels like this that maybe don't have the following people think they do. But anyway, let's take a look here at SciManDan and see how he tried to debunk my work, which he didn't do at all. You might think he did, but anyway, there we go.
Oh, what's a great jockey?
Hold on, we got to get through the ads on his channel.
How you doing, Jax?
I'm doing real good.
Here we
We
go.
have come across Gematria many times on this channel. The idea that words can be transferred into numbers and then you can garner some meaning from those numbers. Well, today we're going to visit a channel of one serious Gematria player, and he's taking a look at whether or not the NASA Perseverance rover on Mars was one big hoax. And he's doing all of that using nothing but numbers. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, SciManDan. Thank you very much for joining me. Gematria, as I said at the beginning there, is the idea that you could convert words into certain numbers and then make something of those numbers, usually twisted to suit your narrative. When I saw a video from a guy who specialises in Gematria in sports talking about NASA and the Mars missions, I simply couldn't let it go.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. February 18th, 2021. Just to address a few things you already said, I've never twisted anything to fit my narrative. I began this as detective work. I saw that the media was abusing certain numbers, placing them in stories needlessly, almost like a graffiti artist tags his block. And I began looking into why that might be. Why might there be the certain repetitive use of special numbers? And eventually it led me to Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, discovering the subject of Gematria, and I've been uncovering it ever since, and making very accurate predictions ever since. And also just the way he tried to say that I'm a sports guy. Again, this research didn't start with Gematria Effect Sports. It started with the channel Zachary K. Hubbard, which it was for the first 16 channels, all of which were deleted by Google, and then I broke it up into GematriaEffectNews and Gematria Effect Sports. Gematria Effect Sports has stayed up. GematriaEffectNews has been deleted several more times. Again, my channel's been deleted over 20-some times by Google. SciManDan, he's never had a single channel deleted. And I'm not violating the terms of service. I'm being taken down because I'm putting out important information that Jesuit-run Google does not want out there. And we'll get to how Google is certainly run by the Jesuits, the same people that run NASA and so many other things in this world. But anyhow, we'll continue with the video, and we'll just go through point by point. Big news from NASA today. Reportedly, they're going to land the Perseverance rover on the surface of Mars. But the question is it all a big hoax?
No, it's not.
Again, And he's going to do that, a lot of things like that. No, it's not. But I mean, what kind of argument is that, SciManDan? You can't just say, no, it's not. You need to explain why it's not. And you'll see he doesn't do that at all in this video. But anyhow, let's continue.
Been exposing for years how everything NASA does, and I mean everything, is by the numbers. I have a long chapter about this in my first book, Letters and Numbers.
Wow, what a way to waste several years of your life.
And
again, wow, what a way to waste several years of your life. I don't feel like I've wasted years of my life, and the people who followed me for years, they don't feel like their time's been wasted either. They feel like they've been enlightened, and because of this knowledge, they're now able to understand the way they're being manipulated. You know, my work's probably saved a lot of people's lives. It's helped a lot of people escape their slave job. Again, you know, SciManDan, I have followers who are doing the same thing that I do, who have very small YouTube channels, but have a lot more Patreon subscribers than you do, because they're also doing meaningful work that enlightens people, that also helps them pad their pockets, as you can do with Gematria knowledge, as we prove on Gematria Effect Sports week after week. Anyway, here we go.
let this just add to the record. So there's a big relationship with the moon and Mars, as I covered in the book that I wrote years ago. And we'll get to that, but I want you to see that today, the day of this supposed landing, February 18th, the moon and Mars are in conjunction with one another, something that doesn't happen that often.
It actually happens more often than you think, but hey, let's continue.
And notice what he did right there. Hey, it actually happens more often than you think, but let's continue. Did he say how often it happens? It doesn't happen that often, you guys. Here was the last conjunction of the moon and Mars as of today, March 29, 2022. It was 117 days ago, okay? It doesn't happen that often. It does not happen that often. So these are slim percentage odds of these things lining up as they do. These are beyond coincidental odds. And notice the way this man debates. He just says that's not true, but then doesn't back up his point. This guy would be easy to smoke in a debate. So again, SciManDan, if you're out there, I'd be happy to debate you, and you could also have a teammate on your team. You'll both lose together. You can get Professor Dave Explains. You and him can be teammates against me, and you'll both get smoked. The last time a group of guys debated me, one had to retire the next day. And again, SciManDan, I don't want to put you in as low of regard as Professor Dave Explains. I challenged him to a debate, playing a small clip of what he said, and he had my video struck with copyright. And I thought, wow, I even complimented the guy and just challenged him to a debate, and he gets the video taken down for a copyright strike. We'll talk more about that later. But again, I would welcome both of you to debate me at the same time. I know it'll be easy to smoke both of you. Anyway, here we go.
And again, today's February 18th, 2021. In Hebrew Gematria, the word moon equals 218. And again, today's February 18th. And of course, in history, we know about NASA's moon landing by the numbers. Or if you don't know that's by the numbers, we'll revisit that.
What's really funny is that if I go to a Hebrew Gematria calculator, I get the value of 230, not 218. But of course...
Okay, so his value, I don't know what calculator he's using. He didn't cite where he used it, but that is blatantly false. The Hebrew value of moon is 218, and here's how easy it is to prove, and I'll show you exactly how you do it. Okay, Google makes this easy, so you can go to English to Hebrew. If you type that in, it'll give you a translation. So for the English side, type in the word moon, then you copy the Hebrew value, and then if you go to gematrinator.com, in the calculator, there is, under the ciphers, under the foreign section, there's one that says Hebrew Gematria. And if you plug in the copied text for moon, it is 218, which is the Hebrew value of moon. I have no idea what website he used. And again, I mean, I don't know if he went out there and just searched for a bunch of calculators so he could just find something that was different. But what he just did was blatantly dishonest. The Hebrew value of moon is 218. Okay, here we go.
Of course, I'm assuming it's the Hebrew translation that equates to 218, not the English version of the word.
Right, which should have been obvious since it was just on the screen that you were looking at. I mean, how smart can this guy be? This guy, again, YouTube promotes certain people and makes it look like they have a big following. You'd think a guy has nearly 500,000 subscribers, he'd have more than 200 people on his Patreon page. But again, take a look around, you guys, almost all these big channels. And there's shills of all kind. A Call for an Uprising, another major shill. Remember a few years ago he was begging to collaborate so he could get some of my Patreon. It's just like, I thought you had your big following over there. Don't forget what happened to him and Jeff C. the day after they debated me. Anyway, here we go.
Doesn't feel manufactured at all.
And now again, another...
I mean, literally, it's right there on the screen. He couldn't figure it out. He goes to an English word translation and comes up with a different value. I mean... Anyway, here we go.
Another rover landing on Mars, which isn't new, but it's part of the ongoing storyline of NASA's legacy. So in Hebrew Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, moon equals 218. Now, there's a person writing articles about me in an Israeli newspaper saying that I am ruining Gematria because there's no evidence that there's any Gematria in the English language, which is absolutely nonsense and lies, and honestly not to be expected from people such as her.
With all due respect, isn't the whole of Gematria nonsense?
And notice how in the...
And again, you have to think he just made this video yesterday. He made this video on March 28th, 2022, saying, isn't just all the Gematria nonsense? I mean, the only people who think that are really ignorant and closed-minded people. Again, look at the resume of what I've accomplished in going... It's almost been 9 years now. The correct predictions from so many things, to what will happen in the news, to what will happen with a celebrity death, to what will happen in a sports game, to what will happen in an election. And not just getting the outcome right, but having the exact number that ends up being the big focus of the story. And we just do it, time and time again. The resume is very, very long. And just to be saying things like this, it's just a joke. No, it's not nonsense at all, and the only people who think that are literally morons. You literally have to be a moron to think it's nonsense at this point.
The base ciphers, Mars has values of 15, 51, and 57, and Moon has values of 15, 51, and 57.
So, they are the same, yes, but in different sections, are they not? Can't really compare them.
So how does he come to that conclusion that you can't compare them when he has no expertise on the subject? You're arguing with somebody who's been studying this since 2013. And here, just so people understand, when I first started, I wasn't looking at 4 ciphers. I didn't think to run the alphabetic order in reverse. I learned about these ciphers from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And back then, I didn't know about any online calculators. All I knew about was what Manly P. Hall revealed in his book. The alphabetic order, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26, and the alphabetic order with the rules numerology. It's still A is 1 up to Z is 26, just using numerology. As you can see, Z becomes 8 in numerology because 26 is 2 plus 6 is 8. Y, the 25th letter, becomes 2 plus 5 is 7. That's why Y is 7. X, the 24th letter, is 2 plus 4 is 6. Anyhow, just when I first started, I read in Manly P. Hall's book this way of encoding numbers into words and how the practice is essentially about putting numbers together that have logical relationships that also have the same numerical value. And, right away, one of the first things I started to look into is understanding this was a spiritual practice. I just started to look into, things a lot of us came up on, like Christianity. And I noticed right away, Jesus was 74, cross was 74, Gospel, the story of Jesus, was 74. Messiah, the term for Jesus to the Christians. Jesus is Messiah to the Christians. Messiah, 74. Jesus spoke in parables, 74. And I thought, wow, what are the odds of that? They are all the same. And then, you look at other things. English is 74 as well. Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, is 74. It's a Jewish practice, which is 74. Jesus is considered Jewish from the land of Judea. So, you're just, right away, when I just started to see all this connect, I was like, there's no way this is a coincidence unless just somehow so many English words equal 74. But they don't. But this group of words that go together do. And I mean, you think about English, London, England. London happens to be 74. You think about the U.S. that supposedly got free from England, whose birthday is 74. Holiday is 74. Occult, meaning hidden, is 74. A lot of things are hidden in plain sight. You know, right away, when I first found this, I knew that there was obviously something here. And then I noticed right away with the other cipher I learned from Manly P. Hall, when you write out Independence Day, it is also 74. That's what we call July 4th as we write it in the U.S. 7-4, Independence Day. What are the odds of these things? And, you know, keep in mind all of these numbers break down to 11, the master number in numerology. And notice Jesus, right? Jesus, 74, 11. Jesus returns in Revelation, which equals 121, which has a square root of 11. Revelation, the small way, is 49, which has a square root of 7. If you've ever read Revelation, it's full of 7. But anyway, over time, we realized that running the alphabetic order in reverse was the other half of the code. And I just want you to see something. I'm going to write out the word gavel and the word judge. And of course, a gavel is the instrument a judge uses to get order in the court, you know, the little wooden hammer. And notice the values of gavel and judge, the exact same in all 4 base ciphers. Now remember, the name Trump. Donald Trump set a record, the most judges put in at federal positions in a single term. And notice the value of Trump. Okay, look at the comparison. Where judge and gavel have 25, 47, and 88 in their values, so does Trump. But they're not in the same areas, are they? They're not in the same areas. And SciManDan just tried to tell you that if they're not in the same areas, then they have no relationship, even though he has no expertise on the subject. Now remember, Donald Trump's first Supreme Court justice was put in on April 7th, 2017, Neil McGill Gorsuch. April 7th, as we write it in the U.S., is 4-7. And there was a long absence because it was Antonin Scalia who died by the numbers on February 13th, 2016. So his position was eventually filled April 7th, 2017 with the next presidential administration after Obama left office. But notice, the name Neil McGill Gorsuch. Look at this name. Neil McGill Gorsuch. Hold on, I forgot an L. He has a double L in McGill. Neil McGill Gorsuch. There it is. You see how it has the 88 in the name? Also like Trump. Also like judge. Also like gavel. And keep in mind, this is in Washington, D.C. You see the 187 and the 88? Washington, D.C. is named after George Washington, 187-88, who was a Freemason, who the first Jesuit university, Georgetown, in the U.S. is named after. And notice Holy Roman Empire, 187-88. Of course, that 74 is there as well. And you might have noticed that was also there in George Washington. And I should have mentioned in the most simple cipher, Masonic is 74, which again fits in with the occult thing, which fits in with the history of this nation, a nation established by the Jesuits and the Masons, not to mention modern Freemasonry was made by the Jesuit order in London. Again, the Jesuits are the Society of Jesus. But anyhow, again, these things aren't all in the exact same cipher, but you can clearly see the relationship. Washington, D.C., the city, was once named Rome on the Potomac and owned by a man named Francis Pope, not to be confused with Pope Francis. Now notice, all of these words have a 47 in it as well. We talked about how judge and gavel are 47. We're going to get to 47 with Mars. But just notice, if I write out president, it has Gematria 47. If I write out White House, it has Gematria 47. If I write out government, it has Gematria 47. If I write out authority, it has Gematria 47. If I write out Republican, it has Gematria 47. If I write out Democrat, it has Gematria, when spelled correctly, 47. And even the letters D.C. themselves, Washington, D.C. for District of Columbia, 47. The cornerstone for D.C. was laid September 18th, 1793, a date with 47 numerology. D.C. was designed by a Mason from France, which also has that gematria of 47. The first Jesuit pope is Pope Francis, like the Jesuits were created in Paris, France. Francis is 47. So is Vatican. Again, a number of authority, a number that's used ritualistically again and again. And notice, is it 47 in all the same cipher? No, but it's all 47 in these base ciphers. And again, there's such big rituals with this number in D.C. When Obama took office, he took office as a 47-year-old along with the 47th vice president, Joe Biden, who became president after being a senator in D.C. for 47 years. And while Trump was saying, I've done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. And again, Trump has that 47 in his name, not to mention Trump was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night of the rigged selection as he beat Hillary Clinton in the rigged selection, who was born in 47, whose husband went to Georgetown, the Jesuit school. He also went to Yale, where Skull and Bones is, who identifies by a number. Again, another clue about the significance of numbers to secret societies. But if you're saying that all of these things could be coincidental because there's 4 ciphers, then that makes you bad at math because it's still improbable. Again, here, I'll just use my name. Zachary, is there a 47 in any of those? No, there's not. Keith, my middle name, is there a 47 in any of those? No, there's not. Hubbard, is there a 47 in any of those? No, there's not. How about my first and last name together? Is there a 47? No, there's not. How about my entire name? Is there a 47 in any of that? No, there's not. How about my sister's name? Does it have a 47? Nope. How about my mom's name? Does it have a 47? Nope. How about my dad's name? Abbreviated name Tim? Nope. Full name Timothy? Nope. 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 Not a single 47 anywhere. Okay? So, understand, these 4 ciphers are a system. This is a system of encoding things and doing things ritualistically with. And you can prove it again and again by paying attention to the code and the way things are done. To make a point, what's buzzing right now is the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing, which we'll talk more about. And again, like I said, I predicted why Sidney Poitier, the first black actor to win Best Actor, would die at 94 a year before he did, because he won it in Lilies of the Field, a 94-minute film that released on the... Sidney Poitier, again, first black actor to win Best Actor. He won it for Lilies of the Field, which is 94 minutes long, and the film released on a date with 94 numerology, and it's a film where he saves a group of Catholic nuns. And he dies at 94. Then what happens at the 94th actors? The 94th Academy Awards. Will Smith wins Best Actor, and again, Sidney Poitier, there's a lot to explain, but Sidney Poitier, he's very well remembered for a slap scene in Heat of the Night. And what's funny is that the slap scene comes in a greenhouse. We know that Foo Fighters established in 94. They just had the death of Dave Grohl's drummer, Taylor Hawkins. Remember, Kurt Cobain died in 94 days after Bill and Melinda Gates got married. And again, Melinda Gates, Jesuit family. It's a lot to explain. But anyway, Kurt Cobain dead in 94. Dave Grohl establishes the Foo Fighters. They just put out their first movie recently by the numbers. Then right before the 94th Academy Awards, the drummer's dead. And then a headline emerges out of the UK about how Taylor Hawkins was recently slapped by Prince Harry. Anyway, you guys, all of this stuff is ritual. It's being compared to what happened to Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard was just in a slapping incident, drafted into the NBA in 94. Who's controlling all of these things? The world of entertainment, awards ceremonies, sports games. Again, all roads lead to Rome. It all goes back to the Catholic Church and the Jesuits. And I'll bring this together more clearly, but the point I'm trying to make is, again, you study this knowledge, you see the patterns, you see how undeniable they are, and so often you can figure out what the next scripted narrative is. Juwan Howard, part of college basketball. Remember, Will Smith back in 2016 put out the movie Focus, set in New Orleans, where it's about numerology and sports and gambling. Right after that, he wins Best Actor at the MTV Movie Awards on 9/4. And on that same day, the New Orleans saint named Will Smith dies. That was back in 2016 when Chris Rock made fun of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith for Oscars So White. You see? And now 6 years later, history repeats itself. And then you can go back to the 2000 MTV VMAs where Shawn Wayans imitated Chris Rock, making fun of him. And at the end of the skit, Puff Daddy comes up and slaps, Shawn Wayans imitating Chris Rock, and it ends in a beatdown on the stage. And then what happened this year at the Oscars? Puff Daddy becomes the mediator. Anyway, it might be too much for right now. But again, these numbers are not arbitrary. It's not random. It's not, you can't just come here as somebody who doesn't understand it and say that the 4 ciphers are not connected. You see the 320 with Roman Catholic Church? Sidney Poitier just died 320 days after his 94th birthday. Okay? 193 is the 44th prime. Will Smith's 44. The final 4 this year is in New Orleans on 4-4. Again, all of this stuff is connected. Sidney Poitier died on Will Smith's 104th day of his age. It all comes together. It's all perfect ritual. And, also for another cute one from 2016, you see where Antonin Scalia is 132 and 219? Look at Roman Catholic. 132, 219. He was the first Roman Catholic Supreme Court Justice. He died by the numbers on the 44th day of the year, and then his body laid in repose on February 19th, 219 at the Supreme Court. Roman Catholic and Antonin Scalia. 219. Not arbitrary. Okay, hold on. Let's come back to SciManDan's video.
When it comes...
I let it go to sleep, so hold on. We got to sit through another ad for SciManDan. He can use the ad revenue based on how small his Patreon subscriber count is, so let's help him out here. Little charity for SciManDan. Picking fights that he shouldn't have. Wow, we got to watch 2 commercials, SciManDan? Come on. Okay, hold on. Let's get back to him here. Here we go. Rewind a little bit.
Sections, are they not? Can't really compare them.
So again, that's what he was saying, that you can't compare these, the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. You can't compare it. And you know what? Just to bury him a little bit more, actually, we'll save it for later. Here we go.
Outer space also has that Gematria 57, and conspiracy also has the Gematria 51 and 57, and many conspiracy researchers contend that the moon landing was actually filmed at Area 51.
Oh my days, it's just endless, isn't it?
But again...
And again, I mean, you can do that and go, oh my God, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard, but is it not possible? I want SciManDan to explain how the flag was waving on the moon. I never hear anyone take on that point. I just always hear him do things like that. Oh my God, so stupid. How's the flag waving on the moon in the footage? Anyway. And you know what? Again, just to make the point, Washington D.C. used to be called Rome on the Potomac. Notice how the word Rome is 51 in the most simple cipher. So is federal. Now it's the federal territory. And again, here's a little history. Conspiracy, 51. Look at Adam Weishaupt. Adam Weishaupt's the Jesuit who established the Bavarian Illuminati on May 1st, 5-1. 5-1. What are the odds of these things? And the word conspiracy is 51. It just happens to be 51 and 57, just like moon and Rome. All roads lead to Rome. Anyway, I mean, you can put your hand on your head, but again, none of these are arguments, are they? He's not, he's just... And this is all you have to do to appeal to the dummies of the world. They just... I mean, look at how dumb people are. Right? People can't even see the fake slap right in front of their face with Will Smith and Chris Rock and the obvious mockery to acting ceremony. And again, these are the same people that flock to channels like SciManDan and just take these nonsensical arguments. I mean, these aren't even arguments. This is just mocking and acting like you're on a higher plateau. Again, take a look at your itty-bitty Patreon subscriber count, and then you'll find out how many people really value your work, SciManDan. Almost nobody. Here we go.
The gematria and the parallels are undeniable. And notice how outer space and conspiracy are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. If you watch the latest movie made by Hollywood...
And notice there's no cut-in with that, right? Because now it's actually... He just tried to make an argument, but now he's like, wait a minute. The exact same in all 3. He's not even gonna say anything here. But let's continue.
About the moon landing starring Ryan Gosling, You'll notice twice in the beginning of that film, in the first 10 minutes, they put the number 147 on the screen. And I just want you to see how Outer Space and Conspiracy are both 147.
And what's really spooky is the Art House Radio podcast reviewed the film First Man, starring Ryan Gosling. And guess what episode of the podcast it was? Number 147. Ooh. But seriously, I checked that opening scene, and the only thing I could see that had numbers on it was the altimeter when he was test flying that jet. And if that is what he's referring to, then I believe it was saying 47,000 and not 147. Dear oh dear.
So are things...
Okay, so I know for a fact that it shows 147,000, or 147 twice early in the film. I've shown it before in the past, and the second place it shows it is... There's a chalkboard. First, he's in space, and it's some, reading meter on his gadget where it's got 147 something up there. But then, maybe 10 minutes later into the film, on a chalkboard, it's written V equals 147. And here's what they did with that. V is the 22nd letter of the alphabetic order. In numerology, 22 is the master builder number. And if you write out master builder, it's 147. Now, who are the builders in history? The Freemasons. Again, modern Freemasonry, a creation of the Jesuits. What did the Freemasons build that's the relation with the Jesuits? The Jesuits served the Catholic Church. The Masons, they usually built those fanciest buildings in town, which were the Catholic churches and cathedrals. So anyhow, Master Builder, 147. Remember, when you run it in reverse, Freemasons, 147. Conspiracies, 147. And so is Outer Space. 147. They put it up 2 times in the beginning of the film. Your analysis there, you watched the opening scene. I didn't just say in the opening scene. I said at the beginning of the film, they put it up 2 times, which they do, and anyone can watch the film and verify. So just another bad argument, my guy. You're just going to get destroyed. I mean, if you want to sit there and watch the film next to me, you're going to see that you're wrong. And then you're going to have to say, oh, well, it's just a coincidence. And again, that's what almost every idiot has to fall back on, just calling everything a coincidence. But when you understand that these people speak in numbers, which they do, you understand why it's written on a chalkboard in the beginning of the film, V equals 147. And again, we'll just continue on here.
It was like spaceship. Very special number to the Freemasons. The word Freemasons, 100...
by the way, just to show it, I was saying how spaceships also got that 147 in it. So... It's actually exactly the same as Freemason in all ciphers. And of course, they carried the Freemason flag to the moon, did they not? I mean, so again, is there no relationship here? The spaceship to the moon, they bring the Freemason flag. You got the House of the Temple in D.C., where inside it they have the shrine dedicated to NASA. But Freemason and spaceship, the exact same in every cipher. Here we go.
47. The Jesuits and the Freemasons are directly related to each other. The Jesuits created modern Freemasonry in Washington, D.C. The Jesuits have been there longer than the federal government, and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry came in right behind. But again, these numbers are special.
And you could argue that 147 is special to snooker players too. The maximum break, of course.
And so the point you just made about how that number, I don't know what snooker is. I think he's in the UK, that man. That's not a sport I'm familiar with. But again, the majority of the sports are credited to the Masons. Here in the US, American football is credited to the Freemason Walter Camp, who was also a member of Yale Skull and Bones, which is modeled after the Knights Templar, and of course the Templar cross and the Jesuit logo. American baseball is credited to the Freemason Abner Doubleday, and Naismith, also a Mason, who American basketball is credited to. Or I think Naismith was technically Canadian, but the point is, all of the major sports here in the U.S. are credited to Masons. So maybe the 147 being in snooker is not just a coincidence. Maybe it's another part of the same pattern. Again, you guys, this is a really bad job debating. And, I mean, anyway, here, we'll just continue on.
So, here's what else is very interesting about this. Today's date numerology is 61, and planet Mars has the gematria of 61.
Talk about trying to make it fit. Date numerology and adding the word planet in front of Mars? Absolute joke.
It's not an absolute joke. Again, date numerology goes hand in hand with gematria. These are both forms of numerology. They're a perfect pair. And here, just to make a point, again, we just went 4-0 in the Elite Eight, and we've been dominating the college basketball tournament as we do every year because it's all about numerology and gematria. And again, it's all run by the same Catholic Church. But out of these 4 ciphers, what I always teach people in sports is there's one cipher that matters more than any other. You see where Villanova's 36 with the alphabetic order and rules numerology? Their nickname's the Wildcats, which is also 28 in that same cipher, the most important. Houston just lost to Villanova, and they became 36 and 28 in the tournament all-time, losing to Villanova. This stuff happens game after game. Now, Villanova's a Catholic school. Notice Catholic is 71. And notice also the 46. March Madness is 71 and 46. Always huge numbers in the tournament. The first ever March Madness was the Catholic school Villanova beating the Jesuit school Georgetown. But where March Madness is 71 and Catholic, Villanova just picked up their 71st win all-time in the tournament on a 71 date numerology. And remember, they won their first tournament in 85, they won the first March Madness in 85. That was the first year of the March Madness format. You see how basketball's 85 in the simple cipher? The Jesuit motto, Isus hominum salvator, is 85 when you use the alphabetic order and rules of numerology. And again, the 4 base ciphers. The Isus hominum salvator is abbreviated IHS in the Jesuit logo, which is the sun. And in the most simple cipher, it's 274. When did the Roman Catholic Church begin celebrating the birthday of the sun, Sol Invictus? They began celebrating it in 274 AD. What do they say the surface gravity of the sun is? 274 meters per second squared. And SciManDan, if you're out there, can you verify that? Can you verify that the surface gravity is actually 274 meters per second squared? Well, we'll talk more about these things in a minute. Isus hominum salvator, though, 85 in the most pure. We happen to be in the time of Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, being 85 years old right now, and Pope Francis is also the 266th pope in the history of the church, like Isus hominum salvator is 266 when you run it in reverse. And remember, he spoke in D.C. on September 23rd, 215, the Jesuit stronghold on the 266th day of the year. But when you run it in reverse, Isus hominum salvator is also 122, and so is Pope Francis. And Pope Francis is named after St. Francis of Assisi, just like San Francisco is. And San Francisco is also 122, and it's on the 122nd meridian west. And again, all those numbers you see up on the screen are used ritualistically with San Francisco again and again. This year the 49ers, their first 2 games in the playoffs as an underdog in both of them, they both won in huge 76 rituals. First they dropped the Cowboys to 7-6 in the wild card round, and then they gave Aaron Rodgers his 76th career loss, who's originally from the Bay Area. But again, this stuff, you guys, it's been proven over and over 1,000,000 times in a row. San Francisco, the 49ers used to be 5-0 in Super Bowls. They hosted Super Bowl 50, the golden anniversary, when they're named after the gold. San Francisco 49ers are named after the gold rush, and gold's 38, and the Super Bowl 50 was on the 38th day of the year, won by the 38th state, Colorado. Colorado equals 38, plus it's the 38th state. Plus we said in October why the Broncos would beat the Panthers that year. Panthers also 38 on the 38th day of the year. And again, from then to now, 1,000,000 correct predictions from sports to news, from understanding this knowledge, which is not coincidental, where these ciphers are not unrelated, but all part of one system, which is easy to see when you study it day after day. Not when you just, I'm going to watch one video from a year or a half ago, and since I don't understand anything about it, I'm just going to say it's all stupid. Again, that's Dunning-Kruger effect. You'd have no knowledge about something, and you think you're the authority on it, which makes you a moron. And also, is it unfair to say planet Mars? Is it not referred to as planet Mars? We do refer to it as Mars and planet Mars. Let me see. So, anyhow, I mean, this language is completely fair. Mars, the planet Mars. What are the odds of this? A rover landing on Mars on a date with 61 numerology. And not to mention where we started with the 218 thing, which connects with the moon. On a day when the moon and Mars are in conjunction. Okay, let's continue.
Mars is on a 47-year cycle, and the word time has gematria 47 forward, 61 in reverse. And realize, all of these rituals are done in time.
Just to point out here that 47-year cycle is in relation to us, from our perspective here on planet Earth, and nowhere else on this solar system. We've become so narcissistic as a species, haven't we?
But again,
what other perspective would matter, honestly? What other perspective would matter than from, if we're the ones keeping track of these things and making calendars and time schedules to document when phenomenon happen, like conjunctions, what other perspective would it matter from? Again, 47 is a time number. That's why for people who don't know, the reason I even found Gematria was the repetitive use of the number 47. It's just abused in news stories. It's inserted in so many news stories, it's ridiculous. Not to mention the word news itself equals 47. We were talking about all the 47s, the number of time and authority. News is 47. And again, this nation's birthday, July 4th, the way they'd write it over where SciManDan is, they'd write it 4/7. Remember, the 47th problem of Euclid, the Greek mathematicians, the 47th problem of Euclid, that's the Pythagorean theorem, very important to the Masons. Again, the cornerstone for D.C. laid by a Mason on a 47 date numerology, 47 encoded all throughout the history of this nation in D.C. And again, it didn't start here. It didn't start here. But this is a nation founded by these secret societies that have taken these occult practices that come from long before this nation ever existed. Foundation 47. This nation established on the 4th day of the 7th month. Anyhow, let's continue.
Again, time has that gematria 47 and 61, like planet Mars is 60.
And I forgot to mention, the tropics of this Earth, the tropic of Capricorn and Cancer, how many degrees apart are they? 47 degrees apart. The Scottish Rite of France sets their compass at 47 degrees. France, 47. A French Freemason, L'Enfant, lays out D.C. And again, just the city of 47. So, okay, let's continue.
Rome also equals 61, and Mars is the god of war to the Romans. So, Mars on the 47-year cycle, time 4761 on the 61 date numerology, on the date of this conjunction, corresponding with the planet Mars. All these things come together
into a big ball of manufactured coincidence.
And sadly, that's the world we live in. A world of morons where all you have to do to win the argument is just call it a coincidence. The morons are so used to everything being a coincidence. St. Peter's wins on St. Patrick's Day, and then their season with their last big win comes on Peacock Day. And then their biggest star in the history of their team just happens to die 16 days after his birthday as they get their last win in the Sweet 16, and then they're televising an R.I.P. to Elnardo Webster, the greatest player in Peacock history, who just happened to die this week as the Peacocks go further in the tournament than they ever had before. And again, they can just broadcast this to the brain-dead masses, and they don't even think twice about it because it's the same stuff that goes on every week when they're watching their sports games. All of this stuff is old and occult. I used to learn in our elementary school about these evil Mayans that would play these sports games and ritually sacrifice human beings. Lo and behold, the exact same thing is going on today, and it's being put right in front of people's faces, and they're just thinking it's all a coincidence. And, just take SciManDan's word for it. Also a coincidence theorist. Here we go.
And the launch date for this rover was reportedly July 30th, 2020. That was the 211th day of the year, which is the 47th prime number. It was also a date with 57 numerology. And again, Mars equals 57, as does rover, as does moon, as does outer space, as does conspiracy. And what's interesting is from the launch date to today is exactly 203 days later. Heliocentric equals 203. And again, this is a model that came out of the 16th century in a close time frame to the Gregorian calendar being put out in English standardized with a 26-letter alphabet.
Okay, yes, it's 203 in the reverse ordinal cipher, but you kind of get 4 goes at trying to get the right number, don't you? There's no
you kind of get 4 chances at getting the right goal. Okay, let's just say you could only go up to 203. So you'd have 4 chances to get to 203 and for it to line up that way. So that's less than 1 in 50, which is less than 2%, and in line with everything else we're talking about, the date of a conjunction, a date where the date syncs up with Moon, where it syncs up with Mars. These are all slim percentage odds. Let's just say that all 3 of those things had a 2% chance. Well, what's 2% times 2% times 2%, Dan? 1/50th times 1/50th times 1/50th. We're getting pretty small, aren't we? We're getting astronomically small, aren't we? All right, let's continue.
Consistency in which cipher you're using. Hebrew, reverse ordinal, reverse full reduction. It's crazy.
No, it's not crazy. You're ignorant. You don't understand. And there's a lot of overlap, by the way, with Hebrew and English. There's a lot of overlap with Hebrew and English. And I don't normally bring in Hebrew gematria to my decodes. It is another layer, but again, the point is, what are the odds? 218 represents Moon in Hebrew. This ritual is going down on 218. And the encoding of the English language pays tribute to Hebrew gematria, Greek isopsephy. Again, it plays on what came before it. So here we go.
But we're on the heliocentric model that the planets revolve around the sun, which to me, I tend to agree with that model based on how accurate, even if NASA is contriving a lot of their propaganda by the numbers, they still do have the mathematics down for when the planetary alignments happen, the conjunctions, the eclipses, the stars, all of that is perfect. I mean, they prove that every single day.
Well, at least he isn't a flat earther or a space denier. There is that.
Are they proving that they're actually landing on Mars with the CGI models they're going to show us? That's up to you.
But why lie about landing on Mars? It seems pointless making something up like that. For what benefit would you do it?
Hey, see, I have trouble. If SciManDan's an intelligent person, honestly, SciManDan, there isn't anything in this video you've shown me that makes me think you're intelligent, but why manipulate people and lie about accomplishments? What's the budget of NASA? What is the annual budget of NASA? I'll always double check your sources besides just what Google says, but NASA's budget for fiscal year 2021, so the year that passed, was $23.3 billion. It's funny that that's the number. I mean, it's not going to be that every year, but just 233 is the 51st prime. For 2020, it was $22.6 billion. That's the number of planet in standard in Jewish gematria, 226. I like this. It was 0.48%, though, of the 4.7 trillion the United States supposedly spent that year. Anyway, 23.3 billion? I mean, do we want to divide that by 365 days? I mean, that's a huge sum of money every single day. And I maintain that here in the U.S., we get fleeced as taxpayers. They're lying to us about all sorts of things. They have all these supposed programs that we're supposedly paying for that are meant to benefit us, but are they really? Seems like the taxes are keeping a super rich ruling class while the rest of us, just slave away to keep up with our bills. But there's all sorts of reasons to lie. SciManDan, go back and look at September 10th, 2001. The day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld, then the Secretary of Defense, he came out and said the U.S. couldn't find $2 trillion. It lost $2 trillion with a T dollars in defense spending, and he said that the Pentagon was going to have to open its books and become completely transparent. Well, 9/11 happened the next day, and everybody forgot about that story, and then our spending went up and became even less transparent. But a lot of money is being stolen from the American people who are tax cattle. And, a lot of the things that we think we're paying for, they could be an illusion. They could be a lie, creating these false reasons to spend more money and put it in certain people's pockets. It's going on right now with the whole Ukraine charade, I've been talking about 47, Dan, Klaus Schwab, one of the top Jesuits in the world, Ukraine equals 47. The whole Ukraine thing just happened to pop off 47 weeks after Klaus Schwab's birthday, and then Klaus Schwab announces that now Ukraine's the first country to be completely on board with his Great Reset. Same guy who simulated the coronavirus pandemic right before it happened. All right, let's continue.
With regards to 203 days later, in numerology, zeros in the middle of numbers don't really count, so it's like 23. Percy has that gematria 23, and they're calling the rover Percy, which is short for perseverance.
You know what I should have said about that there that I didn't? The word planet's also 23 in the most pure cipher, and of course 23 is the 9th prime number. 23 is the 9th prime. For the longest time, they taught us that there were 9 planets. When I was growing up in school, there were 9 planets, then they dropped Pluto. But, again, Percy 23, Planet 23, again, supposedly landing on the planet Mars. Possibly coincidental, but probably not.
And, again, the rover launched on a Thursday. It's landing on a Thursday. Thursday is what is related to it is related to Jupiter, but it's also related to Zeus, who's the god of all gods, per the Romans. And again, all roads lead to Rome.
Well, Zeus was god of all gods for Greece, not Rome.
Okay, but it's the same thing. Jupiter is the Roman god name for Zeus. It's the same damn thing. I mean, this is just... Okay, misspeak. Jupiter, Zeus, same thing. All right?
He's also god of all gods in this house. Isn't that right, buddy? Zeusy.
Man, I know a lot. Hey, I don't have anything against cats, but I don't know SciManDan. Maybe he's got a girlfriend there, and that's why he's got a cat in the house. But again, I'd be suspicious of any single man who has cats. All right, here we go.
If you didn't know this about NASA, their full name, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, it has Gematria of 666, again, which is a biblical number.
You started getting ready for bed with soothing sounds, and now you're ready to fall asleep. Keep your AS...
Oh, of course it does. I mean, seriously, what are the odds?
NASA, the acronym...
Again, we got 4 ciphers, right? So what are the... this should be of interest to anyone. You have 4 ciphers, and NASA just happens to equal 666. Pretty special number there, 666. Number they like to do a lot of rituals with. Never forget the Clade X simulation on the day to celebrate Mercury, where in the simulation, they rush out vaccines that hurt people. But that simulation was exactly 666 days before the pandemic was declared. As I do this video, I realize I run the risk of getting a strike and my video taken down. So often my video responses to bigger channels that make fun of me get a strike. And that's another thing that people should be thinking twice about. Why does my work have to be censored and struck so much for all these bullshit reasons? You know? Why can SciManDan upload a video that's just a hot load of shit with no real arguments, just trying to make fun of something they don't understand, and that gets to stay? You know what I mean? But again, 666 is a biblical number. Again, it's the Jesuits who are behind this, which serve the Catholic Church, a biblical order. And again, that's not an arbitrary number, 666. It's not. It's associated with the beast, which is associated with the serpent. A lot of people point out the red, whatever that is, going through the NASA logo looks a lot like a snake's tongue. But here, let's continue. Actually, here, to be fair, let me copy and paste so I don't get a typo in here. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Let's put it in the 4 base ciphers. Let's look at all the numbers here. 441 is an interesting number. It has a square root of 21. And in the most pure cipher, as we know, Jesuit is 21. So is Bible. And where do those things come together? How about the Christmas space mission where they read from Genesis while they were supposedly in space? Again, bringing the Bible and the space program together. And that was at Christmas time, right? It was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I believe it was 1968. But 441 has a square root of 21. 171 is the 18th triangular number. Remember what the Jesuit logo is, IHS, which equals 18 forwards and backwards, the phrase IHS. It also equals 36, where 666 is the 36th triangular number. And the word sun itself is 18. And again, in Jewish numerology, 18 represents the meaning of life, and in so many societies, 18 is where you're first considered an adult. You know, you see how sun's also 54 and 18. Remember, the FDA recently approved 54 different sizes of anal condoms, a thing that a man who might be single who has a cat might know a thing or two about, but the FDA approved 54 sizes of anal condoms on the 54th day of the year, and they said it was done in an experiment between 18 and 54-year-olds, and they said there were 252 men in that experiment. Maybe you were one of them, SciManDan. But they didn't choose 252 men by accident because Sodom and Gomorrah equals 252. And again, yeah, that is using the 4 ciphers, but what are the odds? What are the odds of you have 4 ciphers and there just happens to be 252 men and Sodom and Gomorrah equals 252? That would be, what is that, a 1 in 60... 1 in 63? 1 in 63 chance. So about 1.5% odds that it would line up that way, not to mention everything else, not to mention even the name of the person at the FDA who made the announcement about the 54 sizes of anal condoms on the 54th day of the year. Her name equaled 54. If I remember right, it was Courtney Lias. Let me check it out. Was it Courtney Lias? It sure was. Courtney Lias, 54 forward, 72 in reverse, just like Jesuit order. Remember, John Carroll established Georgetown, the first Jesuit university, when he was 54 years old. And the Jesuits were created on a date with 72 numerology in Paris. And again, it's all about the sun. The sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. These things are not arbitrary. There's a million more things to say about all this. But anyway, let's continue. Oh yeah, he asked, what are the odds? What are the odds that it's 666? Well, you had 4 chances. 4, that's less than a 1 in 150 chance. You know, I mean, it's like 1 in 165.25, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's really small. It's like a half a percentage point.
Name has Gematria of 35, like Thursday. Also like Satan.
Here, let's make the point. NASA, in the most simple cipher, is 35, right? Now notice, Satan is 35. The beast, the serpent, that tongue, Baphomet. You know, the satanic symbol is 35. So is Catholic. So is Holy See. So is Jesuitism. So is Thursday. This ritual happened on a Thursday. That's the day of the week that represents Jupiter or Zeus. The first pope of the church is Peter, Jupiter, you know. Again, these numbers are used so ritualistically again and again and again. And you know what? Again, it's all about Genesis 3:5, the eyes of God, Genesis 3:5. When did the eye go on the US dollar bill? 1935. Who do you think put that symbol on there? Same people that gave you NASA. Same people that give you the same bullshit every day by the numbers that's improbable. You should have answered the question yourself, SciManDan. What are the odds that it would be 666? Extremely unlikely. Just like everything else I'm showing.
You know, associated with the beast and 666, the deceiver. And a lot of people will falsely claim that in Hebrew, NASA means to deceive, which is not true. You guys who say that, you need to research instead of regurgitate what you see in YouTube videos.
I'm starting to like this guy. Indeed, that is not true. And you hear flat earthers say it quite a lot.
And I don't ever expect anyone to take everything I'm saying, you know, as truth. I expect you to research and check to see if what I'm saying is true.
And that is sort of what I'm respectfully doing right now.
Notice he said that's what I'm sort of doing because he knows that's not what he's doing. He didn't refute anything. He just said, oh, that's dumb. Oh, that's a coincidence. Oh, you didn't. No, you didn't. Well, again, you said I'm sort of doing it, which means what sort of mean? Not really. Okay, here we go.
In the 7.5 years I've been here, I've never misled. I have misspoken a few times and I've always corrected my mistakes. But there are a lot of people who put out false information to mislead, and a lot of those people are in the flat earth community, and those same misleaders will routinely say that I'm a shill and I never expose NASA, which is a blatant lie. I have a book exposing NASA, something I don't know of any flat earther having produced besides Eric Dubé, who uses false measurements to prove his points.
Oh, deep burn there. But seriously, this is a great way to do things, and I would be inclined to leave this alone, but I just can't. Because under all of it, Gematria is just nonsense. It means nothing, and you cannot make any assertions off the back of it.
Which is completely false. If that was true, then we wouldn't have a resume of correct predictions. We wouldn't have a bunch of people in the community who've now emulated the work, set up their own Patreon, who are now charging people to do sports predictions, which we're very accurate at. You know, you can't find any winning gamblers in this world pretty much outside of the Gematria community. Sports are rigged by this code. You can prove it day in and day out. News media's rigged by this code. You can prove it day in and day out. Elections are rigged by this code. You can prove it day in and day out. A lot of people want a lot of money on Trump winning election because when I said that it looked like he was going to be the next president, the odds were over 50-1 at the time. For people who followed me, at the end I thought it got too ridiculous with Trump and they were actually going to put Hillary in there. I should have just stuck with my initial thought, but all the numbers were there to support why Trump would go in the White House. And again, for people who want to know how we predicted, go back and look. The very first Republican debate with Trump, the first time he spoke at the mic as one of 20 candidates, Fox News put up on the screen, Trump is the 133rd richest man in the United States. Well, President equals 133, White House equals 133, government equals 133, and then a few weeks later, Trump went on Fox News and he'd been on there he'd been on there a bunch of times, but they made a huge deal when Trump went on there for the 133rd time. They hyped it all day. Make sure you tune in tonight for Trump's 133rd Fox News interview. And I was just pointing out to me, I was like, why are they doing this, you guys? Is The Apprentice the next president? And, of course, there was a lot more to Donald Trump and his rig selection. But, again, they're putting numbers in front of your face that are symbolic to this gang that have meaning. And if you can read what they're putting in front of your face, you can get in front of their riddles. Again, this is the Society of Jesus. Jesus spoke in parables, which are riddles. And, again, I mean, did anyone else, almost no one thought Joe Biden was going to win the election, but we said a year in advance why he would become the second Catholic president. Notice Catholics 35 forwards, 46 in reverse. JFK, number 35, killed at age 46, the first Catholic president. The second Catholic president's Joe Biden, number 46, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, and inaugurated on the Pope's 35th day of his age. Not to mention the election was called for him 353 days after his birthday on the anniversary of him being called senator-elect, where 353 is the 71st prime. And then after the whole staged insurrection, the first member of the Trump's cabinet to resign was Elaine Chao, whose name equals 145. And let's not forget, these numbers are biblical. There's 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament than the Protestant Old Testament, thus Catholic 145, thus Israel being established on 14/5 by David Ben-Gurion, whose name equals 145. And there's also 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. Stuff is not arbitrary. So, again, the eyes, 3-5, it's all about controlling the mind's eye. Have you ever thought about how the word eye is E-Y-E? Only 3 letters, like 2 eyes on the face, 1 in the mind. E is the 5th letter, Y is the 25th, the square root of 25 is 5, 5 is the 3rd prime. Every letter in I comes back to 5 and 3, Genesis 3-5. Religion's the reflection, 53, it's also 46. But yeah, it's just to say that there's no use to Gematria is just such a blatantly false system. Did you say why Prince was going to die the day of the 58th Grammys? Because I sure did. I said he's going to die real soon. And then he ends up dying on 4/21, and we talked about this before it happened because he had the hit song I Would Die For You, where he spelled it with the number 4 and the letter U. Used the 21st letter. He dies on 4/21. Confusion happens in the media because they light up Niagara Falls purple that day. And people said, how can they already light this up so fast for Prince, whose death was just announced? And they said, oh, no, that's for Queen Elizabeth because it happens to be her birthday today. Queen Elizabeth, born on April 21st, the 111th day of the year, like how the Royals won the 111th World Series over here in the U.S., defeating the 111 team, the New York Mets. As we predicted would be in the spring, and we predicted in spring training why the Mets would be in the 111th World Series at 60-1 odds. And we've done it year after year since then. You know what I mean? But it's just, for people to upload a video in 2022 and say that there's no predictive power to Gematria, it's just a joke. It's a joke. This is an ignorant man right here talking about things he doesn't know and thinking, he's just like my sister, honestly. Hey, SciManDan, my sister's single and miserable. She doesn't like cats, though, so maybe that's not going to work out. But I was going to say, you two idiots, you might find paradise together. You have to lose Zeusy, though. Here we go.
Anyhow, in Jewish Gematria, which is the most important cipher outside of the base ciphers, which is based on Latin, which was the language of the Romans, Mars has that Gematria of 201. And remember, heliocentrism also equals 201, as does the Jesuit order. And the moon landing in history happened July 20th, 1969, on the 201st day of the year. And the first astronaut to set foot on the moon was Neil Alden Armstrong, whose name equals 201. And if you think this is some sort of coincidence, I encourage you to look into the first Jesuit pope, Pope Francis, who was the first pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. And you can look up what it's called. It's called the Domus Sanctae Martyr, which equals 201, just like his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 201, just like how the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola's name equals 201. And I'd also encourage you to look up Event 201, the coronavirus outbreak simulation, on the same day as the Military World Games in Wuhan, China, when the Military World Games were created by the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church. And they date back to 1995, and the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses and recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. And shortly after the leader of the 95 Theses was killed, Martin Luther, who reportedly died from ill health, but I'm sure he was murdered, the Jesuits kill with arsenic, which looks like, when you die from arsenic, it looks like you died from the flu. But again, not to be confused with Martin Luther King Jr., who assumed the name of Martin Luther and who was assassinated on the 95th day of 1968, a leap year, right before the Club of Rome was established on April 7th, 47. Vatican 47, Francis 47, time 47. Special numbers. This nation's birthday, founded by a bunch of Jesuits and Masons, the 4th day of the 7th month. But again, Mars and Moon with the Gematria overlap. The other thing to think about with Mars is it is the god of war. And
do you know what else equals 201? Gematria Effect Sports is not a good channel. Of course, that is in the reverse full redaction cipher, but obviously still counts. Now just imagine the disappointment that washed over me when I realised that Gematria is Guff and Beans was just 1 over at 202.
And again, that's just idiotic. Here, let me give you something that's not idiotic. Again, here, let's go over this list again, and let's add a little bit more to it. Okay, so we're going to run the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. And again, the founder of the Jesuits is Ignatius of Loyola, whose name is 201. The first Jesuit pope is Jorge Mario Bergoglio, whose birth name is 201. That's Pope Francis. And again, he lives in the Domus Sanctae Martyr in Suite 201. First pope to live there, 201. Okay? Now consider, these numbers are very important to the Jesuits. In the Jesuit history, they were saved by Catherine the Great of Russia, who preserved the order, per the Jesuits, with 201 Jesuit priests. 201. Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, the first to live in Suite 201. Also, Pope Francis, when the Jesuits are from France, originally established August 15th, 1534 in Paris, France. The last French pope was the 201st pope in the history of the church. Now, Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit, established the Order of Illuminati, and that is officially what he ended up calling it. First he called it the Bavarian Illuminati, then he renamed it Order of Illuminati. He ended up dying in history 201 days after the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. Died November 18th, 1830, 201 days after May 1st, the day it was established in 1776. And if I run the alphabetic order in reverse, the Jesuit order is 201. Just like we were saying with heliocentrism, it's 201. And with regards to heliocentrism being 150 forwards, heliocentrism says the sun is the middle of this system, right? The solar system is right here in the middle of it. And 150 is interesting because they say the sun is 150 million kilometers away from Earth on average. Now, I just want you to see that the word Illuminati also has the 150 in it. 150. And again, Order of Illuminati is 201. Remember the Alec Baldwin killing of the Ukrainian woman 201 days after his birthday at 1:50 in the afternoon? And then, surely the military conflict starts in Ukraine in the Donbass region, which has that 201, also that 123-like conspiracy. But here, Joe Biden's son, Beau Biden, died at 46, and he died on the 150th day of the year, 201 days before Pope Francis's birthday. And what makes this all the more interesting, again, 150 Illuminati, 201 Order of Illuminati, these numbers come together a lot. What makes this all the more interesting Again, he's dead on the 150th day of the year, 201 days before the Pope's birthday. Here, let me just, so you don't have to take my word for it. Beau Biden, let's pull it up here. Beau Biden died May 30th, 2015. May 30th is the 150th day of the year, okay? And Pope Francis's birthday is Saturnalia, December 17th. But here, let's pull it up here so you can see. Pope Francis' birthday, December 17th. So let's go back in time. Let's measure from the day Beau Biden died. May 30th, 2015 to December 17th, 2015. He died 201 days before the Pope's birthday. And who did the funeral for Beau Biden? The answer is the same Jesuit priest that was the president of Georgetown who also did the inauguration for Joe Biden, number 46. He does the funeral of 46-year-old Beau Biden. He does the inauguration for Joe Biden. And what day's inauguration day? 20/1 like 201? Right, but what was his name? Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, which equals, when spelled correctly, 201. Also equals 312 in reverse, just like Jorge Mario Bergoglio, who's Pope Francis. And again, if you doubt any of this, look it all up. They're all facts, so they're all verifiable. My work's not like Flat Earth, where it's based on a bunch of bullshit. It's all based on facts, verifiable evidence. But here's Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, Catholic priest, Jesuit, and theologian. Again, he was the 47th president of Georgetown. Go figure, right? The 47th. That big President D.C. number. He went to Georgetown and Fordham. So he went to 2 Jesuit universities, And again, if you think all of this is so what, you're a moron. I was saying why the election, and not to mention this, here's the other thing I was saying. Here, you know what? I got to show you a couple more things. We got to write out Order of Illuminati again. Let's pull out the base ciphers. Order of Illuminati, 201 in the most simple, like heliocentrism. 93, It's funny how Alec Baldwin's birthday is the 93rd day of the year. 201 days after his birthday, he shoots the Ukrainian woman at 1:50 p.m. How about when they said Jeff Bezos was the richest man in the world, worth $201 billion, published by Forbes on 10/5, October 5th, as of his September 3rd 9/3 valuation. His buddy there is William Henry Gates, whose name is also 201 and 258, whose dad just died on the 258th day of the year, who just happened to set up his vaccine alliance on the 258th day of his age, July 12, 1999, who was one of the main sponsors of Event 201, the coronavirus pandemic simulation, and there's a whole lot more, but you can only say so much before they take down your video for medical misinformation. Because again, you can actually put out real misinformation like SciManDan all day on Jesuit. Oh, by the way, with regards to the Jesuits in Google, Sundar Pichai, head of Google, who celebrates its birthday on September 27th, the day the Jesuits were recognized by Rome. That's not Sundar Pichai, but Google itself celebrates its birthday on the day the Jesuits were recognized by Rome. Sundar Pichai's another 201, But this stuff's not a coincidence, and only a moron would think it was. And by the way, the election that Biden just won was the 59th presidential election in the most pure cipher. Pope Francis is 59. He's the 58th pope to not be an Italian. He's from Argentina. That's why the day of the total solar eclipse in Argentina was the day the vaccine went live in the U.S., when corona's the light around the sun. And the man who coined the term corona in terms of the light around the sun during an eclipse, he was a Jesuit. And his name equals 201, and he did that in New York, the same place they had Event 201. But Pope Francis is 59 in the most pure cipher. The 59th presidential election was perfectly synced with him. Pope Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for Pope Francis. Pope Francis became the first Jesuit pope on March 13th, 13, 3/13/13. 3 is the second prime number, 13 is the sixth. So 3/13/13 in primes is 266, like he became the 266th pope. Jesus Summorum Salvator, 266. Anyway, all of these ciphers get used religiously again and again. There's something to say about every one of those values. We just recently went back and revisited 9/11 in light of Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, and Flight 175. And again, all of this stuff is connected. And if you think it's not, you're wrong. I can prove you wrong with evidence, with facts. And like right here, SciManDan, look at this. If I write out Amalgam Virgo, it's 119. If I write out Operation Amalgam Virgo, it's 119. And what day did September 11th happen? As you write it in the UK, it was 11/9. Amalgam Virgo was the simulation of 9/11 right before it happened, by the numbers. And then what happens is Osama bin Laden gets killed exactly on the first day of the 119th week of Obama being the president in Operation Neptune Spear, where, again, Neptune is related to Poseidon, who carries the trident, and Poseidon equals 119, and again, the trident was part of the architecture of the World Trade Centers. All of this stuff is numerology and astrology. And for the record, your buddy Professor Dave Explains, he took down my video challenging him on astrology. First of all, I complimented him, and I said, I think he does good work, and if you're a science student, he's a good person to follow. But I showed him making fun of astrology and how stupid it was, and then in my video, I said, let's debate, and I said, just for a simple astrology lesson, let's talk about the moon landing. The moon, Cancer. The moon landing happened in the time of Cancer in 1969. Cancer is ruled by the moon in astrology. Cancer's astrological symbol looks like 69. So does that really seem arbitrary to you that there'd be a moon landing in the time of Cancer in 69? Or is that evidence that the occult that control NASA are operating by the code of astrology? Again, it's just like what I was saying about 9/11. Poseidon, Neptune, Operation Neptune Spear to kill bin Laden, all by the same numbers. Rituals, provable, undeniable. You got to be brain dead to not see it. And again, how about the NATO meeting in Aries? And as the day world leaders convene, to talk about the contrived situation with Russia and Ukraine, Madeleine Albright dies, who said that we needed to expand NATO into the Eastern European bloc, including Russia and Ukraine. And she just happens to die that day in a big Jesuit ritual, as we just talked about last week. But again, look at it. Here's how it's all synced up. So first of all, it was announced on the Ides of March, which is Roman. The Ides of March, that Biden would be at the NATO conference on March 24th, the 83rd day of the year. Ides of March has the Gematria 56, like Society of Jesus, like Brussels, where they meet. And again, for anyone who thinks this stuff's an idiot, for anyone who thinks this stuff's a coincidence is an idiot, but here, just to prove that you're an idiot, remember, in the most pure cipher, coronavirus is 56, right? So is COVID vaccine. Again, this whole thing was contrived by the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. The biggest face of it is Anthony Fauci, who's a Jesuit who went to Holy Cross, who said all this would happen at Georgetown 10 days before Trump took office. Not to mention Trump's Jesuit education began 56 years before 2020, back in 1964 at Fordham. And Trump waited to declare the pandemic for Friday, March 13th, 2020, a date with 56 numerology. But Pope Francis put out his encyclical about what to do about coronavirus for Telly Tutti. You know, we had the toilet paper crisis because of coronavirus, another 56. By the way, with the most simple cipher, shit is 56, and the Jesuit logo, when you flip it upside down, the IHS with the cross becomes shit. Spells shit, take a look. But, you know, you had this Regeneron beverage that they were promoting. You had the Covishield, which is 56 in reverse. But Gavin Newsom, the Jesuit. Gavin Newsom, the first governor to lock down his state, his exact quote was, in 8 weeks, which is 56 days, 56% of California will have coronavirus. Then over in the UK, you got Boris Johnson reading the 56-page winter plan for what to do about COVID. You got him locking down London on Remember the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, who was a Jesuit, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. Notice how coronavirus is 56 forward, 70 in reverse? Remember, the UK strain, first they said it was 70% more infectious, then they said it was 56% more infectious. By the way, what logo is above the Prime Minister's door at 10 Downing Street? Oh, that's right. The Jesuit Order's logo is stained in the glass like a Catholic church above the Prime Minister's door. And again, Society of Jesus. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Pope is 56. If you're saying, well, what about the 79? Well, here, what about it? Anthony Fauci, who's very much the face of this pandemic. The pandemic was declared March 11th, 2020 by the World Health Organization on the 79th day of Anthony Fauci being 79 years old. And I haven't even told you the half of it. There's a million more of these rituals with the same numbers. super redundant. Andrew Cuomo, Jesuit educated, the 56th governor of New York. The first case of coronavirus confirmed in the world outside of mainland China was in Seattle, Washington, in the time of the 56th mayor, Jenny Durkin. The COVID vaccine goes live by the numbers, while Melinda Gates is 56 years old, Bill Gates' partner. Dan Brown, who wrote the Da Vinci Code about the Catholic Church and the Illuminati. He turned 56 in 2020. Again, a million more things. Jeff Bezos turned 56 years old that year. If you saw his dick rocket launch, Jeff Bezos blasted off in a dick rocket like Austin Powers 56 days after Mike Myers' birthday on the 201st day of the year. There's just so much of this shit, you guys. It's undeniable. The huge Jesuit slap ritual with Will Smith and Chris Rock. They said the Oscar ratings were up 56% this year. Again, this number's everywhere. They said that the state that got the most antibodies to COVID in the U.S. was Wisconsin with 56%. Juwan Howard slaps the Wisconsin coach with 56 career wins under his belt and gets suspended on Sidney Poitier's birthday, who's remembered for slapping the man in Heat of the Night, as he dies at age 94 right before Will Smith becomes the 5th black actor to win Best Actor when Juwan Howard slapped the Wisconsin coach 5 weeks before the Oscars on the nose. Exactly 5 weeks. Not to mention, again, he was drafted in 94. Sidney Poitier's dead at 94. Lilies of the Field, 94 minutes. Comes out on a 94 date in numerology. Will Smith wins at the 94th. Again, Kurt Cobain dead in 94. Foo Fighters established in 94. Kurt Cobain dead in a greenhouse. Sidney Poitier slaps the guy in a greenhouse in Heat of the Night. And with regards to the ciphers forwards and backwards, here. Heat of the Night. It's in the Heat of the Night, excuse me. In the Heat of the Night's the name of the movie. In the Heat of the Night, 103.86. The Oscars were on the 86th day of the year this year. By the way, Jesuits equals 103 and 86. But Will Smith, Sidney Poitier, died 103 days after his birthday. Best Actor. Again, just to understand how it all comes together. Best Actor, 103. And you're not going to see through all this without all these ciphers. Best Actor's 59. The joke of the slap was centered on Demi Moore, who's 59 years old right now. Number stamped all over Black history. Sidney Poitier, in his Oscar-winning film, drives a 59 Pontiac. Shawn Wayans, who foreshadowed all this at the 2000 VMAs, his name is 59. You see? It's not arbitrary. The ciphers are the system. And remember what it is. Motown Records came out in 59. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. Slave 59. Negro 59. Blues 59. Rasta 59. It's not arbitrary. All these black male shaming rituals, as we've identified. The same book that I have. This book right here. Chapter 12, NASA by the numbers. There's a chapter in here about the race war by the numbers, showing why they stamped 59 and 42 all over Black history, why Motown came out in 59 on the 42nd parallel, while February equals 42, the month that ends on the 59th day of the year. Again, this stuff is not arbitrary, it's a system. Did you notice how in reverse, slave is 76, Negro is 76, blues is 76, Ross is 76, the first black president, Barack Obama, 76, his book, A Promised Land, which he released on the day leaving 44 days left in the year like he was number 44, 59 and 76, Acts 7:6, the 44th book of the Bible, about 400 years of slavery. In this presentation, even though it's getting long in the tooth, we've covered about 1/1,000,000th of the proofs over the years that I've been here for nearly 9 straight years, exposing what's what. And understand, SciManDan, you might have a bigger YouTube subscriber count, you've never been deleted, but again, take a look at your little puny Patreon subscribers where people really see, that's where you see where people value your work. You have 200 people. You have 400 and some thousand subscribers, you have 200 people on your Patreon. Go take a look at mine, Zachary K. Hubbard. You'll see, over 6,000. And you know what? It would be a lot bigger than that if it wasn't for all the censorship. You haven't been censored one lick. I get censored every week. I've been censored from day one. Never allowed to grow. Always deleted. The work still reaches more people who value it. And again, you're showing right here, you're taking on some of the most important work in the world, period. There's not a lot more important research going on in this world right now, period, than what I've been doing. Because I'm exposing real evil, and that's why SciManDan in 2015, I put out a video and said, if the world doesn't wake up to who's controlling this world and who's steering the masses, we're going to be fucked by 2020. You know how I knew it'd be 2020? Because it was 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers. The moon's on a 19-year cycle. The 19th card in the tarot's the sun card. Sun and moon rituals. Rituals and numbers. 19's the 8th prime. The sun makes that nice figure 8 in the sky every year. None of this stuff's arbitrary. 8, like infinity. Kind of like time. Here we go.
Honestly, does any of this really matter though? Of course it doesn't, because you could probably find a way to make anything you want equal any number you want.
Wrong. False. Completely untrue. And listen to what he's saying. You can tell he's just talking. Who asked you to make this video? You had a year and a half to go. The video you're commenting on is a year and a half old. Well, I guess not quite a year and a half. It's over a year old. It's a year, a month, and it was a year, a month, and 10 days that you took on this video. And again, you didn't have anything to debunk other than just to dismiss out of your ignorance. And now probably, maybe, kind of, sort of. I mean, this is your video. Your video's trash. And again, this is why you have almost nobody who supports you financially. Here we go.
I think we're going to leave Gematria Effect Sports for today. He has a very interesting channel. We may come back and have a look because I'm a big sports fan. But for now, we're all done and dusted on another Tinfoil Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it today, please do consider subscribing. I'll be, again, hugely appreciative. We're going for a real push for that 500,000 subscribers. And if you really liked it, then hit that like button as well. I've been SciManDan. Have yourselves a great week, and I'll see you all on Friday for the final return of Mr. Thrive and Survive. He's banging on about eclipses again. See you then.
Okay, so that's SciManDan, and since you like sports so much, and it sounds like you're British, David Beckham, someone you're probably familiar with. Here in the NFL, we have Odell Beckham, and he happens to be born on the day leaving 56 days left in the year. And I'm just going to show you something. Odell Beckham Jr., his name in the most pure cipher is 56. He's born November 5th, the day leaving 56 days left in the year. On his 29th birthday, notice football is 29, which connects to European football, which we call soccer over here, as well as American football. He was traded on his 29th birthday from Cleveland to the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams franchise started in Cleveland, but on his 29th birthday, he was traded on the day leaving 56 days left in the year prior to Super Bowl 56. And, of course, his team went on to win the Super Bowl, and we did pick Odell Beckham to score the first touchdown of Super Bowl 56 because he wears the number 3 for the same reason we said it would be a 3-point game, Super Bowl 56. And why did we know that? In the most simple cipher, 3 is 56, light is 56, Abrahamic is 56. The 3 Abrahamic religions, God makes light in Genesis 1:3, the 3rd verse. So we said the Super Bowl would be a 3-point game. Odell Beckham would score the first touchdown, which paid 9-1. Nice payout. And again, that's why people support my work and not really yours. But here's the thing. Something I've educated about for years, and this is how we've called so many Super Bowls before seasons even began. Super Bowl equals 41 in the most pure cipher. From David Beckham's birthday, who played for the LA Galaxy, he played football in Los Angeles for that other football team. From David Beckham's birthday to the Super Bowl, won by LA, the 213 area code on 213, it was exactly 41 weeks on the nose. And notice, LA, when you run it in reverse, is 41. It's kind of like how Kobe Bryant is 41, who died at age 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age while traveling from Catholic Mass, dying 157 days after his birthday. And again, all of these, Kobe, if you want to see how all of these ciphers reflect with Kobe's life, you can read my latest book, Number Games, where there's a big chapter on Kobe's death, traveling from Catholic Mass. And in my first book, before he died, I talk about all these numbers in light of Kobe's career. Then he ends up dying at 41, 157 days after his birthday. But when LeBron won the finals after Kobe's death, he won it exactly 41 weeks after his birthday, and they call him King James. And of course, when he won it for the Cavs, he won it on the real King James's birthday, June 19th, where 619 is the 114th prime, and LeBron James is 41. But anyway, coming back to the Super Bowl, David Beckham, Odell Beckham, The Rams win the Super Bowl exactly 41 weeks after David Beckham's birthday. David Beckham wore number 23 for the LA Galaxy. And by the Rams winning the Super Bowl, they became 2-3 in Super Bowls all time. And they did it against the Bengals, who were playing in their 23rd postseason game all time. And, of course, 23 is the 9th prime number, and it was quarterback number 9 versus number 9, and the season began on 9-9, and you got the big star of the Rams, Aaron Donald, whose name equals 99, who's number 99, who's born on 5/23, where 5/23 is the 99th prime, and it's like the year before Super Bowl 53. We said the Patriots would beat the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl before the season even began. A certain gentleman in my community won over $350,000 off that. And the Patriots came into that season with 523 wins, the 99th prime. And that was the 99th NFL season. And, Patriots 99, so was New England, right? Again, nothing arbitrary about any of this. Nothing arbitrary about any of it. I could go on all day. It's a system. It's the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with the rules of numerology. You pay attention to sports, you'll see how often 3 or 4 of these ciphers will line up in a game. Hey, a big payout just the other day. The Gonzaga Bulldogs coach, who was a big favorite over Arkansas, we saw Arkansas was winning the game before it was played, just like we did all throughout the tournament, like we do year after year. But again, look at how all of this works with the 4 ciphers. Let's start right here. Arkansas, by upsetting, became 28-8, upsetting Gonzaga, the Jesuit program. And for the record, the school's named after Aloysius de Gonzaga, who equals 201. Again, it's a Jesuit school. Last year, Gonzaga lost in the championship 201 days after Elgin Baylor's birthday, who died at 86 days before Baylor won with 86. And Elgin Baylor played at Seattle University. Washington State happens to have 2 of the 27 Jesuit universities in the U.S. Of course, the first one's Georgetown, named after George Washington. Washington State, where Gonzaga and Seattle U are, again, are named after George Washington. But Elgin Baylor dies right before the championship at 86, and then Baylor beats Gonzaga with 86 points. Jesuits is 86, but again, it was 201 days after his birthday. And then the Baylor coach, who went to college in Indianapolis at Butler, he won the championship exactly 201 days before his birthday, and Indianapolis is also 201. And let's not forget, Tom Brady's whole career is 201. Got his 201st career win over the Rams. Rams 201 in Jewish Gematria. They were in St. Louis at the time. The Jesuit University, St. Louis University, is credited with the first forward pass in football history. Again, just Brady's whole career is 201. Everything about Brady's career is 201. His last Super Bowl he won, he had 201 passing yards. He met with Biden on the 201st day of the year. That was with the Tampa Bay Bucks. That same day that Bucks in the NBA won the finals. And his wife, Giselle's born on the 201st day of the year, the anniversary of the moon landing. Anyway, all this stuff, it's all Jesuit. It's all connected. But hold on, coming back to Gonzaga. Mark Few got his 129th loss. If I write out University of Arkansas, it's 129 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology. The name of the school is the Razorbacks, so if I do the full title, University of Arkansas Razorbacks, it's 129 forwards. Mark Few got his 129th loss. 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. And remember what just happened in the college football championship. Georgia, who we predict to beat Alabama after week 1 of the college football season, which was dead on. Another huge future that paid out for a lot of people. We picked Georgia to beat Alabama after week 1 of the college football season based on what we saw in the numbers. The old Georgia coach, the last to win a championship, whose name equals 129, was at the game on his 129th day of his age, and he won 201 games with Georgia himself. And, of course, that game was in Indianapolis, which is 201 town. It's the only city in America that equals 201. A lot of 201 rituals go down in Indianapolis. But that's not all. Again, Gonzaga equals 28, and Arkansas picked up their 28th win of the season, just as Baylor did last year, beating Gonzaga in the championship. Baylor's also 28. You can see Baylor's 73 last year when they won the championship. It was their first championship in 73 years. As you can see, Baylor's 28 and 35, just like Gonzaga is. And last year was the 82nd March Madness tournament. Baylor University's 82. They won it all. Actually, technically, the 82nd men's college basketball tournament. But, again, year after year, you have the knowledge. You see through the rituals. There's nothing coincidental about it. It's a system. And, again, if you don't have these 4 ciphers, Again, the real proof of it, that these are the 4 ciphers is pay attention to sports. You'll see how often 3 or 4 of the ciphers are perfectly encoded into a game where you can predict the outcome before it happens. Or you can take SciManDan for it, who's completely ignorant, who knows nothing about the subject, and just decided that 4 ciphers means that they're not related and you're just cherry-picking numbers to try and make a narrative fit, which is completely false. So, anyhow, SciManDan, you want to have a real debate? We can do a live stream. I don't care. We can do it on your channel. I can tell you need the charity. You only got 200 people over there on that Patreon. And, you can put some ad revenue on it, maybe make a few bucks, and make up for the lack of people who really don't support your work, And celebrate Google at the same time, too, for allowing you to grow to 400,000 subscribers, You don't know what it's like to be deleted every month. So, anyway. And don't be the guy who goes, well, I went to Gematria Effect Sports, and that channel's been here since summer of 2018. Yeah, you know why I separated the news channel from the sports channel? Because they take me down for the stuff I cover on news. And by the way, SciManDan, just to give you one more to close out with, since you call it Tinfoil Tuesday, that stereotype tinfoil hat, you see how it's 51? Just like Conspiracies 51? And the most pure cipher. I noticed that back in my old days, back in 2013 when I found this in the notebook. Conspiracy 51, tinfoil hat. I said, what are the odds of that? And Area 51's the supposed conspiracy area. And again, back then I only knew 2 ciphers. Back then I was going, what are the odds of that? And then Moon's 51? Or, excuse me, the Moon, I realized the Moon thing years later. I take it back. I noticed the Federal and the Rome were 51. But Moon, and by the way, if you look up the significance of Moon in 57, if I'm not mistaken, what is it again? Oh, I forget what it is about the Moon in 57. SciManDan, I'll leave it for you. Look it up. There's something about the Moon in 57 in relation to the Earth. I can't think what it is right now. Hold on. I haven't talked about it for so long. There's something about the Moon and the Earth and its relation. That's not what I'm looking for about this 57 degrees. There's something about the Moon in 57 and its relation to the Earth. I haven't talked about it for so long, but it's there. There's a reason that 57's encoded in Moon. So anyway. We'll leave it there for now. SciManDan, let's have a real debate. Pretty sure you're going to get your clock cleaned. You think I spent it all in this video? You're wrong. I got about a gazillion more examples to prove my points. So, hold on. Hold on. People have made some donations. I got to say thank you to the donors first. I forgot this channel got monetized. Hold on. I'm loading it up for the thank yous. 1 second. I'm going to be right back after this video too, you guys, because I got to show you everything that they've done with the Will Smith slap. It's directly connected to March Madness. Okay. KT Cleans a Lot says, there's another Alec Baldwin movie called Cats and Dogs, released July 4th, 2001, that's all about finding a vaccine cure and has a scene with a fake gun going off. Go figure. It reminds me that the Event 201 simulation was on the day leaving 74 days left in the year, and they had that vaccine fundraiser in the UK. I believe it was June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year, but they said they raised 7.4, I forget if it was million or billion pounds, but they raised quite a bit of money at that fundraiser. I want to say it was 7.4 billion pounds for vaccine research. David says, does SciManDan know that all his Freemason NASA butt buddies believe that Gematria is a valid area of study? Well, I don't know if he does know that or not, but as you saw, he didn't make any good arguments in this video. Gary says, reading the comments on that video really sets the stage for how stupid people are. I watched Bill Nye, the science guy in slave school. I'm smart and perpetually flaccid. People are really stupid. Again, has SciManDan ever done a video? I asked Professor Dave to do a video debunking 9/11 too. By the way, SciManDan, if you don't know, I was always top of my class. I actually have a great memory from 8th grade. Just to tell you a story about me. In 8th grade, I was in Mrs. Schultz's core room class, which I ended up getting kicked out of. The reason I got kicked out of that class is because we were supposed to dress up as a hero from history and give a presentation, and I chose to dress up on the Jesuit. I chose to dress up as Fidel Castro, who's hated in America, and I was literally kicked out of my class, and the principal put me in a new English class after that, and that just shows you how dumb school is. Why can't Fidel Castro be my hero? Again, you're not free in slave school. You're meant to regurgitate the bullshit you learn. But anyway, in that same class before that happened, there was an incident where Mr. Brocious, who was brothers with the old Yankees third baseman Brocious, who had the terrible error in the World Series in 2001, but I did have the brother of that third baseman as a science teacher, and every girl had a crush on Mr. Brocious because he was a blonde hunk with big muscles. But I still remember the day he came just smashing into Miss Schultz's class going, "Where is Zach? Where is Zach at?" And I didn't know what was going on. But then he got so excited, he came over, and he put it down on my paper. He goes, "You are the first person in all my years of teaching to get 100% on this exam." It was supposed to be like his toughest exam of the year. But again, from 8th grade through college, I always aced science. I aced all my subjects, to be honest. And that doesn't really mean anything when you're at slave school. But the point is, these scientific studies weren't beneath me. I could keep up with what they were trying to teach us. But I always question everything, And, SciManDan, everything I saw from you today, I mean, just nothing. You wouldn't have passed any test. You would have flunked the debate exam, everything. I mean, your whole analysis of my video was nothing but shit. And if you're going to do something, do it right. Do it right. And I challenge you to a debate. I can already see you have a bigger pair of balls than Professor Dave explains. That guy's a fucking loser. Again, I gave him a compliment, and not only did they take my video down for copyright, they gave me a strike. And there was nothing offensive. I just showed his video, I complimented him, and I said, let's debate about astrology. Oh, by the way, I fucked up. I didn't even finish the point. We'll come back to the super chats, but I forgot to finish the point about astrology and what they're doing. Okay, so what day did they choose to meet in Aries at NATO? By the way, NATO was established on 4-4 when military equals 44 in the most pure cipher. But they meet on the 83rd day of the year in Aries, right? And they set the meeting date again on the Ides of March 56. Now remember, Aries is the Ram. The Rams just won Super Bowl 56, synced up with David Beckham of the UK, where the sun never sets on Britain, the Jesuit Empire, where the Jesuit logo is the sun. But notice, in Gematria and the base ciphers, Los Angeles Rams is 83, and so is football. And by the way, so is Colorado, and their stadium just caught on fire, coincidentally, on the 83rd day of the year, Peyton Manning's 46th birthday, when he rode off into the sunset after winning Super Bowl 50, the 46th Super Bowl of the modern era. Anyway, on the 83rd day of the year, the same day the Broncos, where NORAD is, big military state, their stadium sets on fire. But anyway, don't you see how it goes? They set it on the Ides of March, the meeting date for the 83rd day of the year. The Rams coach's fiancé is Ukrainian. Big coincidence, their colors are gold and blue like the Rams flag. The Rams coat of arms has the trident on it, Poseidon. A whole nother topic. If you want to debate, I'll show you what they did with the tribute to 9/11 2 times so far in Ukraine. That's undeniable. But, yeah, I mean, on the 83rd day of the year after the Rams win, they're meeting in Aries. Aries is the god of war, the military alliance. By the way, military is 44, so is god of war. NATO established 4-4. So anyway. That's my MO. I'm so tangential, and I got so many things to say. Half the time I won't even finish my sentence. But it's okay. I'll go on to prove something else. But anyway. Nothing scripted over here. We just speak from the cuff all day, every day, and prove our points all day, every day. Whereas SciManDan, you didn't do that at all. You might have been speaking from the cuff, but you didn't prove a damn thing. And David also said, I'd like to have someone work out the exact odds formula and finally put that argument to rest. Again, I'm showing you the math in real time. I mean, what's 2% times 2% times 2%? And really, it's even smaller than that. So I'm being more on SciManDan's side by even, lengthening the odds in his favor. But again, these things are tiny, improbable things. Yeah. Again, what are the odds? Like I'm just saying with the Will Smith thing, and Sidney Poitier I spelled his name wrong. Sidney Poitier. Why can't I not spell his name? Here. When I can't spell his name, I'll look it up. Sidney Poitier. Here we go. What are the odds, that Will Smith would win Best Actor at the 94th Oscars exactly 183 days after his birthday, when Sidney Poitier just died at 94? And again, we predicted he would die at 94 a year before it happened, because Lilies of the Field is 94 minutes long. It came out on a 94 date numerology, and it's about him saving a group of Roman Catholic nuns. And Roman Catholic Church is 94. And what's the odds of this, too, when I type in most famous slaps on Jesuit-run Google, and this is coming up right now, most famous slaps, and one of the top stories is a history of Catholic slaps, punches, and all-out brawls. Well, what are the odds that this is one of the top searches right now? And then you just scroll down, and I was just looking at this last night. Where's it at? One of the first things they get to is right here. They get to the year 1394. You know what I mean? And again, like Sidney Poitier, his famous slap scene is in a greenhouse, and just days before... Here, just to go into overtime, encore performance like I am the Foo Fighters. Again, what are the odds of these things? Taylor, there was also Joey Kramer news about Aerosmith having health problems the same day Taylor Hawkins died. But what are the odds that Taylor Hawkins would die 36 days after his birthday, right after the Foo Fighters are inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that was the 36th edition of the ceremony, and right after they put out this movie, Studio 666, where 666 is the 36th triangular number. But again, the Foo Fighters established in 94, after Kurt Cobain dies in a greenhouse in 94, in Seattle, Washington, which equals 94, who won their only Super Bowl in the 94th NFL season over Denver, which equals 94. And again, for those who doubt the forwards and backwards thing, look at Seattle, Washington. 68 forwards, 94 in reverse, just like Denver. Russell Wilson beats the Broncos for the Seahawks' only Super Bowl win in the 94 season. His grandpa dies at 94. And with regards to Seattle and Denver having the 68 connection, Russell Wilson was originally drafted to the Colorado Rockies on June 8th, 6-8, and his dad died the next day. And he said he saw it coming out of nowhere. It just came out of nowhere. And let's not forget about 1968, the year World Trade Center construction began, the year 911 made the National Emergency Dialing Code, the year the New York Jets had their only Super Bowl winning season, the year Boeing from Seattle, like the Magnus and Klemenkic Associates who built the World Trade Centers, debuted their jumbo jetliner, like the year George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones with a graduating class of 911 members, and his birthday, July 6th to September 11th, a span of 68 days every year. Remember, it's all about the sun. Helios is 68 and 94. World Trade Center construction begins in 68. The buildings open on April 4th, 73, the 94th day of the year. Helios, the Greek name for the sun. And again, the Greeks and the Romans, it's pretty much all the same straight line history right up to the present. All the rituals, paying tribute to history, paying tribute to this occult knowledge. Remember, Catholicism 68, mathematics is 68, the Club of Rome established in 68. Now in the basketball tournament that's completely Catholic Jesuit, they now have 68 teams in the tournament. Solar system is 68. And notice these are all in the same cipher, SciManDan. Not that they need to be, but they're all in the same cipher. So, hold on, I didn't hit enter. Solar system, mathematics, Catholicism, and just for fun, basketball. Again, look into the basketball. Look into almost everyone in the NBA. They all went to Catholic and Jesuit schools. They run the show. Solar system, mathematics, Catholicism, basketball. Now the first 60, they call it, the first four. So now there's 68 teams in the March Madness tournament. The first March Madness was in 85. Remember, basketball is also 85. Villanova won it that year. This year they made it to the Final Four while the Pope's 85. The tournament just happened to start on Jay Wright's 85th day of his age, and they were the first team to advance to the Final Four on the 85th day of the year. I told my people a long time ago that I thought Villanova had the best shot at making it to the championship. We'll see if that's true or not, but I said that a while back because of the 85 thing while the Pope's 85. They were the first team to the Final Four, so even if they don't make it, the prediction wasn't that far off. And again, when I've missed on my predictions, they haven't been that far off. Duke University equals 85, and they were the second team in. Coach K's last season, his 47th season. 47, the 15th prime. Kansas outscores Miami 47-15 in the second half. Scripted basketball, but again, SciManDan, I mean, you're never going to win the debate, buddy. This stuff is provable beyond a scientific fact. By the way, look up Albert Pike's letter to Mazzini, dated on the Jesuit birthday, August 15th, 1871, about 3 world wars. That was the 337th birthday of the Jesuits, the 68th prime number. The First World War began on a 68 date numerology. The Second World War began on a 68 date numerology. The military conflict in Ukraine just began on a 68 date numerology. Look it up. It's all facts. It's not stupid like you said. What's stupid is to say something stupid without researching it. That's what's stupid. You know. And that's what I get sick of in this world. A lot of stupid people who think they're smart, who think they're right because they believe what they learned in slave school or what they saw in the nightly news. That's what I'm so sick of. You know? SciManDan, because I was good at science and I understood physics and I understood 9/11 was a load of shit the day it happened, I realized that nobody must have passed physics class seemingly in the United States of America because everybody was fooled hook, line, and sinker by the obvious load of shit that was. And by the way, here, just since you think there's so many ciphers, here, World Trade Center, you see the 185? Again, they opened on the 94th day of the year. But by the way, the word terror is 68, 94. Construction began in 68. They opened on the 94th day there. But here, World Trade Center, 185. Who was the attack blamed on? Old Osama bin Laden with the March 10th birthday? Let's take a look here. Osama bin Laden, born March 10th. Mercury equals 103, the god of transportation. Planes into the building. March 10th. Shout out to Rambo. See, Rambo's a real researcher. You're not. Anyway, March 10th, 2001 to September 11th, 2001. Watch it. You ready? You ready for it? You ready for it? 185 days later. Holy shit. Holy shit. Hold on. World Trade Center 185. Who's behind all these rituals? Catholicism. You see how Catholicism is 112, 185, and 68? How about mathematics? 112, 185, 68. What's 1 plus 1 equals 2? Oh, like mathematics, right? How many countries do the Jesuits operate in? Oh, 112. You know, I'm sure they operate more than that, but they claim 112, and you can understand why. Again, don't take Google's word for it. Look it up. But it is right there in their little Wikipedia, and it's in a million other places, too, that they operate in 112 nations. And, yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot more to all of this. Here, SciManDan, I'll leave you with one more. It's my favorite example of all time. We only need one cipher to make the point. September 11th, 2001. The story is... Well, look this up too. On the day leaving 68 days left in the year in 2000, that was October 24th, Pentagon Maskell was simulated. A commercial flight flying into the Pentagon. Exactly 322 days before 9/11. Of course, 322 is the number of Skull and Bones. George W. Bush, remember Skull and Bones was the president at the time. But they simulated a plane flying into the Pentagon. And keep in mind, Pentagon construction began September 11th, 1941, right before Pearl Harbor, on December 7th, 127. Like how buildings 1, 2, and 7 fell in New York, in Manhattan, kind of like the Manhattan Project, to develop nuclear, atomic, hydrogen bombs, all this. The only definition for ground zero before 9/11, the point below or above ground where one of those bombs goes off. What force turned those buildings to dust? This is why we got to have a debate in real time. I want to hear from SciManDan. What force turned those buildings to dust? Vaporizing almost all that steel. But, again, just to go to the Pentagon, Flight 77 hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon, and thanks to yours truly, Google had to change the answer for what the height of the Pentagon is. It now says 71 feet on the Google answer, but if you actually look, you'll see it's 77 feet tall. Check it with any other website. The Pentagon is 77 feet tall. Check the 9/11 Commission report. Flight 77 took off at 8:20 reportedly and crashed at 9:37. That's 77 minutes later. So Flight 77, after 77 minutes in the air, crashes into the 77-foot tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian. And when you write out September 11th in the most pure cipher, it is 77. And when you write out World Trade Center in the most pure cipher, it's 77. And maybe you, Dan, are going to go, but it wasn't the World Trade Center. But weren't these the two big events that day, the Pentagon and the World Trade Center? So the World Trade Center comes down on September 11th, while meanwhile you got the Flight 77 ritual going on over here, right? And here's the thing, too. You know what happened in the U.S.? The same thing that happened in the U.K. And let's not get started on the 7/7 bombings over where you are. But the National Security Act. You know, that was to create the CIA back, by the way, that was in 1947. By the way, the National Security Act was created 201 days after the Pope's birthday, September 18th, 47, the same day the cornerstone was laid in D.C. on 1793 on a date with 47 numerology. But the National Security Act created all these intelligence agencies. And what came out of 9/11 here in the U.S.? The Department of Homeland Security. And I know you think it's all unrelated, Dan, but when you run it in reverse, United States is 77, and the American meridian's the 77th meridian. And if you go back and look into the history of when they lobbied for meridians and coordinates and when they placed all these things, Washington, D.C. wanted to be the 77th meridian. That's part of the reason it's set up the way it is. And it's not arbitrary. It's because this nation's controlled by secret societies, just like how all of your favorite NASA astronauts, you know, they were in these secret societies. That's why everything's done by numerical ritual. I will say that doesn't mean that everything NASA does is fake. But it does show that at the very least it's super ritualistic and it's in tribute to this occult knowledge. Clearly everything NASA does couldn't be fake because NASA came out of the military flight program, and obviously we have very sophisticated methods of flight. Look at the jets that are used in warfare. But you might notice that forward secret society's 58. What year was NASA established there, SciManDan? Was it in 58? Oh, it sure was. You want to know what the word science is in the most simple cipher? Science is 58. And you might have caught that 166 with the world, or with secret society. I know what it is. This is where you can make an argument. You know, Twin Towers, as they call them, is 166, like secret society. So, and it was. I mean, it's secret societies that planned and plotted all this shit and blamed it on a boogeyman in a cave and led us all to another needless war that benefited very rich people. Just like I think at the end of the day, NASA's really only benefiting very rich people. It's an excuse for putting money in certain people's pockets. SciManDan, how has NASA benefited your life? I mean, is that something you could answer to? I honestly couldn't tell you how anything NASA's done has had any benefit on my life. I can tell you how much in taxes I've had to pay and how annoying that is. And to think I'm paying to bullshit like this. You know, paying for the next false flag, the next PSYOP. And for people out there were a number of years I didn't pay my taxes at all, but I got in trouble so many years back, and now I know I'm under the watchful thumb, and I try to minimize everything, but again, you know, I could go on a full protest and just end up in a prison cell, and in a way, maybe that's what we should all do, because then there wouldn't be enough prison cells to put us in, but who's doing that? I did lobby for it for many years, so. Anyway, Sarah Sutherland, also with the donation, thank you very much. She says, Zach, I lost my wrench between channel 24 and 25. She'll be here for channels 26 and 27, probably not too far away. I will definitely give you your wrench back when Why don't you post a comment right now, Sarah, and I'll look for you and I'll give you a check. And Sarah says, Zach, the work is undeniable. Let the sheep sleep. We can't let them sleep, though. They're dragging us all to hell. I mean, because again, I mean, you and I and everyone else who's here, we don't really need this, you know, proven to us day after day. Itachi's in the chat. Itachi learned this knowledge after Kobe Bryant died, or reportedly died in the Catholic ritual that was, and he uses the knowledge now. He can decode on his own. He's very good at it, and he's paying the bills with this knowledge. He was able to quit his slave job because he didn't want to wear a slave muzzle with the new requirements because of the new science. And understand, science is a real thing, but science is abused in this society. Look at how they keep saying that people who don't want to wear a slave muzzle and don't want to go out and get the criminal rushed out vax, how they deny science. I don't deny science. I deny scientism and bullshit agendas. Go back and listen to what Kerry Mullis, a real scientist, said about Anthony Fauci. He said he was no scientist. He was a fraud in the face of agendas, and he'd manipulate anything for the sake of any agenda that'll put money in his pocket. You know, I don't know if SciManDan's been busy debunking Anthony Fauci. I'm guessing no, because his channel probably would have been flushed down the toilet. Shout out to Mr. Futures in the chat. Another man who learned the knowledge years ago. He's got his own successful Patreon, proving it day after day. You know, How many people in the world can say out of the last 3 months they've had like 3 days where they missed a game? That's about where Mr. Futures is at right now. You know, you don't think sports are rigged? Don't think this knowledge proves it? Then how's this guy hitting nearly every single day for 3 months straight? You know? Only fools are denying this work. And truly, we thank the fools, because had everybody listened to what I said 9 years ago, we wouldn't be able to pat our pockets off ring sports anymore. Vegas would have went out of business. There'd be no more casinos to take advantage of. Either that or they would have had to switch up their system. So, Sarah, I'm looking for Sarah in the chat, but maybe she had to leave. If you're not here, Sarah, next time I see you, happy to give you the wrench back. And again, if there's anybody else who didn't get a wrench that should have had one in the creation of the new channel, apologies, but in due time. So, anyhow, we'll leave it there for now. I am going to be back soon, and yeah, because we got to go over the 2000 VMAs and the Sidney Poitier slap, and just see what a mockery this whole thing is with Will Smith and Chris Rock. I see the troll in the chat. Who's talking bullshit. Again, if anybody wants to talk shit about my March Madness picks, again, talk to all the people who've made thousands of dollars week after week in the tournament. You know, I don't have any critics who are here besides trolls. And what Melted Red Brick just wrote is pretty much false, because I said I wasn't sure about what the championship would be. And, you know, some of the scenarios I put out there are very much alive and can happen. And again, you got to cover the special spaces that could hit. So, anyway. Adios, troll. Again, people like you are a fucking joke. And you probably work for the casino, because you're probably mad that my boys have only been having to bet $20, $30 to take $1,000 from you. So, anyway. That's what Gematria does. Allows you to bet $20 and make $1,000 off parlays. People been doing it for a long time. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.